Welcome to the Squad Games Podcast. Squad Games Podcast.
Oh, you know what? It's not really Wiggles now. Now it's more like I don't know what to call those.
The fuck are you talking about?
Oh, he's talking about the voice Wiggles. Yeah, they're not Wiggles anymore. They're like
They're Christmas trees. Or pine tree. It's almost Christmas time. It's December 1st as we're recording this.
Yeah, first it's time to start celebrating some probably heretical holidays again.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Whatever holiday suits you, you know?
Make up your own holiday. I don't care.
Exactly.
Whatever you celebrate, the Emperor disapproves of all of it.
Yes.
Except for Sanguinin Day?
That's a thing?
I don't know. My
wife, that's the Warhammer Christmas. That's right.
My wife, she recorded a TikTok/YouTube short and posted it. And it's her putting a sanguineous on top of our Christmas tree.
I love that.
And I disapproved because I wanted Daddy Dorn.
Daddy Dorn.
Wow,
Daddy Dorn
Sanguineous is the angel, though.
He is the angel.
He's the angel.
But Daddy Dorn's my angel.
Yeah, he fortifies the house and the tree.
He does.
No, Dorn is our Santa, and then Perturabo is our Krampus.
I can live with that. That's pretty good, actually.
Well, the Grinch, maybe? Who's the Grinch then? Horace?
Dark angels. I don't know.
The lion? The lion
No.
seems like he'd be like a really angry elf.
The Grinch does live in a giant rock, so you know.
Oh, I could see that. And he's green, right?
Yeah,
They're green, right?
yep. He's green.
Okay, just making sure.
Yep. Green. Unlike the Squad Games podcast, which isn't green, because we're an audio medium, so you actually can decide what color we are. You know me, you know Dakotah, and today we have a very special guest. It's Kellen.
Hi, I'm Kellen.
Hello, Kellen Foster. It's good to see you. Good to have you on the pod. So, Kellen, you are a part of Kell team. Am I correct?
Yes, and I feel like I have to clarify this every single time because I've had several times where I've gone to events by myself as Kell team, and then if they announce it in front of people, it's like, oh, the cart kind of came before the horse on that one. Like, I did not come up with that name. For those who know Jimmy Kelly, you guys know why that it's Kell team.
It's because it's his last name. Yeah, you guys are a very competitive team, and you yourself are a very competitive player. And one of the reasons why we pulled you today is number one, you won the West Coast Championship a couple weeks ago.
Congrats.
Thank you.
So you are officially the West Coast champion. You got a free ticket to LVO, which is another small talking point, a little tangent, I should say. We have 150 tickets sold for LVO. So tickets are going, and they're going quick. So if anyone is looking to go, make sure you grab your tickets before they're gone, because they very well could sell out, which is kind of crazy to think about, right? Also, this week we dropped a pre-order sale for hoodies and t-shirts for Las Vegas Open. And even if you're not going, if you want to help support the staff of the event, so that would be me, Sheldon, Elliot, Saya, Eric, and Troy. By purchasing some of those, we will ship them to you right after the event. So,
you can see what they look like on our Discord.
On our Discord,
Instagram.
And on Lester's Workshop, you just go to the shop, lestersworkshop.com. So yeah, it's going to be a fun time. It's going to be pretty cool. And Kellen, you are going to LVO this year, right?
That's the plan.
Mm-hmm.
So what's fascinating is I like randomly looked at ITC and I pointed at a random name and it ended up being yours. No, just kidding.
Oh, I'm sure.
But it's you're ranked number 100 in the world. And you're ranked number 20 in the US. And here's the most fascinating statistic. Kellen has 0.33 more ITC points than me. So
Screw you, Dakotah. I'm better.
0.33.
0.33. So I'm ranked 101. I dare anyone to come between me and Kellen.
Another fun fact: Kellen is 21st in the hobby track.
What?
Yeah, he's
Wow.
21st.
So you're just ranked all over in the 20s, huh?
Yeah,
That baffles me. Because like half the time I don't even base my models.
that's just how based you are. That was lame. I'm never gonna say that again. That was very cringe of me.
It's okay, Giacomo. It's okay. So today we're going to be talking all about Kellen, asking Kellen all the most important and fun questions. Kellen is a friend of ours, and his going through his tournament history is quite intriguing to see where he's gone, and starting off like really where people kind of grew to know who he was last year was when you won the golden ticket for San Diego. And that was kind of like, the peak Kellen of 2022. You came to the AVTT, which was the very first time I met you, and it was the first time golden tickets were a thing. And you ended up playing novitiates. What did you win the golden ticket with last year?
Also novitiates.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about how I think they're still good, but you guys talked about it last week as well. But they were very good back then as well, and there were a lot fewer teams that gave them problems in that meta. So they were a very solid choice for the time.
Yeah, there was no cults or Felgor, or busted commandos.
And people didn't realize what commandos were.
Yeah, and that's also I think before commandos had their buff, which was adding the
grot and the
correct.
It's wild to think that was also pre-critical ops. So they didn't have an extra CP. None of us had an extra CP. We were all starting with 3 command points. And we were playing on the jank ass missions. And that tournament was also, of course, a GW event. So it was on Octarius boards, which I have thoroughly grown to hate over the past couple years. But
yeah, it's kind of like playing the same thing for 3 years in a row. And GW not expanding to their Into the Dark.
Yeah, you get a little bored.
Makes it boring. Even Into the Dark can get boring if you play the same thing over and over and over. It's interesting times, And
that's why you buy Squad Games terrain.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you played novitiates, and who was second place in that event? Do you remember?
I think it was Jimmy Kelly. I think he took second.
Okay.
He was playing Warp Coven at the time, and we faced off in, I think, round 3. And I believe I did beat him. I'll be honest, there were some gambits involved. It was a lot of like, oh, I hope I get initiative this turn. But I rolled enough initiatives for me to get past him, and then I think he ended up winning his next game and coming right in underneath me.
Very nice.
And that's also when the Death Guard were super crazy in the meta too, where they were stomping on everyone. The Compendium Death Guard.
Yeah, I think Death Guard took like 3rd or 4th that tournament. Yeah,
they took a couple decently high places in that tournament. But then you ended up. No, I didn't know who you were. This was also mine and G's like first year of running the All Valley Team tournament, and. I met Jimmy Kelly at a tournament, and then how did you end up meeting Jimmy?
Oh gosh, this is about 3 years ago at this point. So I was a freshman in college, and I was playing a bunch of Tabletop Simulator, and I decided to try out Kill Team, and I found the Command Point Discord, where people were playing Kill Team 2018. And I just started getting into that, playing in their Zenith bracket. And I ran into James. I call him James because I knew him when his username was James, not Jimmy. But we just played a bunch against each other, and we were pretty evenly matched competitively at the time. And so we'd always have great games when we played against each other, and just randomly we were like, hey, like, where are you at? And I was like, oh, I'm in SoCal. He was like, oh, I'm in SoCal. He's like, which store do you go to? I was like, oh, I go to Addie's Games. He's like, I go to Addie's Games. And then it just randomly turned out that like we were in the exact same location. And so then after we did our runs through the Zenith Invitational back in like 2021, I think, together, we ended up meeting up and started competing at more in-person events as the quarantine started to loosen up. And then, of course, eventually he and his kids made Kel Team as kind of just like a club, and they included me in it. And then we started including more people, and then Kel Team became what it is now. And I know that turned into a bit of a history of Kel Team there, but it is relevant to how I met Jimmy.
It is also relevant to our conversations. It's interesting. Did you start off playing novitiates this whole time, like leading up to winning the golden ticket?
So depends on how far back you want me to go. The first team that I really competed with was Comorites, the Compendium Drukari.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
I played against your Comorites.
I think I recall that. When was that?
It was at the Addies tournament this year.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, when I tried to bring him back and failed miserably. But at the time, this was when Custodes had like 4 APL and were the most broken thing in the world.
Oh, yeah, I remember that small time.
And so Comorites were able to take like 3 AP2 weapons. And so I was just like, oh, well, what better option do we have to deal with these big Custodes? And then it turned out, oh, wait, running witches with agile gladiators is really, really good. Wait a minute, power from pain is really, really good. And then I started running them, and I won a couple online tournaments with Comorites. And then after that is when I picked up novitiates. But I was playing novitiates for probably a few months or more before I went to the San Diego Open. So I did have a lot of practice with them, and I was very comfortable with them at that point.
So I know that you ended up, I think you lost to Gellerpox from a couple bad rolls and a couple good things at the AVTT, but I think you went undefeated other than that, correct?
Oh man, we're talking a couple of years ago.
This is last year.
Well, yeah. Well, it's almost going to be 2 years ago in about 30 days.
Feels like a lifetime.
I did lose to Gellerpox. Maybe I lost to someone else. I wouldn't surprise me, but no matchup was coming up to my mind that I recall losing. Granted, I also don't really recall my winning matchups that tournament.
That is fair. I think right after that, you ended up going to the previous World Championships of Warhammer, though it was not called that. Trust me.
The much smaller version.
Yeah, the grand narrative, the finals of that year for Games Workshop, the golden ticket event, right?
Yeah.
What did you end up taking there?
I also took novitiates.
Okay.
Because I didn't really want to learn a new team going into it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to go with what I was comfortable with. And then I saw the bracket, and it did not look very good for me.
It was all Hunterclade.
Yeah, so first off, I played against Ace, who at the time was #1 player in the world, and he was running Hunterclade. So James and I put some games into it, and it was like, oh, wait, Hunterclade just beats novitiates, and there's like not a lot you can do about it on Octarius boards.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was unfortunate, but we tried our best, and it turns out double activating, double fighting Rust Stalkers that can run through the Octarius walls and stuff just kind of kill your 10 girls very quickly.
That rings true.
And so then we went down into the losers bracket, where miraculously Chris Baki had lost. So then I had to play against his Blooded, and I had never played against Blooded before.
I've been there.
We put up a decent fight. I can remember, I think I got like an Overwatch kill on his Ogren with one of the Flamers. That was
that was nice.
Yeah, it was something like that. But I also tried to hide in melee from his plasma gun.
And he shot himself.
Yeah, not remembering that callous disregard was a thing. And that kind of spiraled it down from there. That one was also on Into the Dark. And on GW layouts, I do believe that novitiates are objectively worse on Into the Dark. This is also when I was trying to make security work still. Because we didn't have critical ops recon.
Right.
To
Yeah,
do
that didn't
unexplored
come
rooms.
out for about a month later.
Yeah, unexplored rooms, and I think recover item weren't a thing yet.
Yeah. So, is that what ended up retiring your novitiates? Was what ended up making you stop playing them? Because you haven't played them all year.
Yeah. Well, in honesty, I mean, I did stop playing them after this tournament, and there are two main reasons. One of them, funny enough, is that I lost one of the flamer models at that hotel, and I never got her back.
Oh, really?
Oh,
That
no.
sucks.
Yeah, so there's a fully painted Pergatus somewhere in New Mexico right now.
Damn, that sucks.
I've got enough boxes. I've rebuilt her, but I still need to repaint her. But then also just I think I realized, like, okay, this meta is starting to move into the dark. Obviously, we didn't know what critical ops was going to look like yet, so this was like the jank ass original Into the Dark boards, if I'm remembering right.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, okay, novitiates just can't hang on these boards. And I can get more into why that is if you want me to. But long story short,
Absolutely.
I mean, long story short, a team can either build wide or they can build tall. If you're building wide, you have a bunch of 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 dudes. But if you lose one, it's not the end of the world because you have more. A tall faction is like novitiates or hyrotech, where you have like some 10 out of 10 models. But if they go down, your plan is over. And so the problem is that when novitiates are building tall, which is usually their style, I think there's a way to build wide, but I'll get into that later. You have to split up your team. Because this is not like the squad games layouts. This is not like the crit ops layouts. It was much more forcing your team to really split into squads and divide and conquer.
Wasn't that also before the crit ops like missions, like the crit ops layouts for the Into the Dark as well?
Yes, I believe so.
Those maps were fucking god awful. And with I remember that, dude. They were so bad. Secure the archetype. Oh my god.
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
I liked the Engage Data Spirits one. That one was a good old time.
I like the one where objectives would disappear. What was that one called?
Escalating hostilities.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
That's
On
probably
Into
my
the Dark?
favorite
Yeah.
I mean, those are the ones you remember because those were the good ones. Those are the ones people played. There are ones that were never played.
Seriously.
God, what was what? There was one where it's like the objectives would turn off one at a time.
What?
And so if your objective just turned off turn one, you just lose.
Yeah, see, that doesn't sound fun at all.
Yeah, it was like you number them 1 through 4, and if an objective 1 on turn 1 could not be scored, but it was randomly determined where they were.
Ooh, that's for a competitive play. That's too random.
Or no, it wasn't even random. The attacker would get to choose.
So far, the track record has whatever releases with the terrain is not good. So I'm pretty excited about season 3. See if any of them are good.
And it is not. It could be jungle because they're releasing the White Dwarf with jungle rules, and so maybe
Giacomo,
they're releasing the jungle rules,
Nope.
so maybe they'll be like, "Here's jungle terrain."
Don't bring
I'm
it
not
back.
looking forward to the water world terrain.
I'm not either.
It doesn't look
It's-
fun to me.
Like, I think I could play it as a narrative thing, but I don't know how the hell you're doing that competitively.
It looks just tedious. I don't know. Like
Making jump tests.
Maybe the rules will make it all the better. Maybe the rules will make it all the worse, I guess.
Oh, you mean how what is it? Nachmund has like the toxic cloud terrain rules and stuff. I played with those rules one time. They're not fun.
That's too much RNG to the game. I agree. I apologize for derailing us.
No, it's fine. It's fun. Derailed, man. It's back on the train now.
Mm-hmm. So, moving to the West, like moving on from your stint with novitiates, you took veteran guards to LVO.
Yes.
And I think you placed 10th. Right?
10th, I believe, is what we saw. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And that was out of 87 actual players. I think we sold 100 tickets to the event, but 87 players, 10th place is not bad. In fact, if you were 10th place at KTO, you would have went on to the top brackets. But
Really?
yeah, because that's how KTO worked. And
That's interesting.
Nova does the top 8 brackets. That's besides the point. So, how did VetGuard treat you at LVO, and did they help you, or did they hinder? Did playing novitiates for so long help you or hinder you in that?
It was definitely a culture shock, because I basically went. I was now hitting on 4s, where originally I was hitting all the time, and suddenly there was uncertainty in my gameplay. Not to say that novitiates are easy or that all their stuff is guaranteed, but they have their tool is basically you don't get diced, or if you manage your resources well, you don't get diced. VetGuard
similar to Kasserkin, right?
Yeah, similar to Kazakh. I think novitiates do it better than Kazakhin just because they can do it in more places and they can have more manipulation.
Okay.
Yeah, they have that mechanic that's kind of your safety net to make riskier plays. And VetGuard, you have that in the sense that you have numbers, but it became much more, I can't guarantee I'm going to get these kills. I need to be playing objective stuff. I need to be making sure I'm scoring more than my opponent, and I'm leveraging my model count. Mm-hmm. So originally hitting on 4s was a bit of a culture shock. Turns out I'm a relatively lucky person, so it wasn't the worst thing, but it definitely hurt me sometimes.
Good dice always help.
Yep, it's better to be lucky than good.
Mm-hmm.
Someone should put that on a shirt.
It's true.
But alternatively, I was having a field day with the model count. Before this, as I was playing novitiates, I would say, like almost all the time, no team should have more than 10 models.
Do you still agree with that statement?
No. I said that because I was a novitiate player, and we do best into teams that have fewer models than us.
Fair. So do you think that novitiates' weaknesses are Hunterclade and teams that have more models than them? So like VetGuard and
I would say that it's their challenge. I think that there is play into that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And I think I would love to get another Hunterclade match in, just because I feel like I'm seeing the team from a different light, and just with the new objectives and the extra command points and stuff, I think they've got a bit more tools to deal with stuff. But I guess to the point of VetGuard, having 14 models, meaning that you basically out-activated everyone, meant that, these key plays I was always able to get after my opponent had his chance to react. And that made things like security much more easy. And I found myself scoring pretty well in most of my games as VetGuard.
Okay. So, you played VetGuard very successfully. You've, played them 3 times this season for tournaments, and you most recently won with them for the West Coast Championship. What was and then your second tournament this year, which was, I believe it was your second, which was our summer tournament, our yearly, in the beginning of June. You also played VetGuard. So you went LVO VetGuard, then you went VetGuard in the summer, and then
that's right.
You won this year with VetGuard, but you didn't do nearly as well that time because you ran into Star Striders a couple times.
Twice, yeah.
Yeah. So from playing them so well this past year, what is your kind of best tips for people who play VetGuard or people that are playing against them? We've talked about them quite heavily on this podcast, but I would love to hear whether it's an echo chamber or whether you figured out something else that we can talk about.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting because I on my way to Nova, I listened to the episode where you talk about Vet Guard and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I had my own takeaways from that, like taking the Melt-A-Gun for once. But
did you like it?
I love the Melt-A-Gun.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I was like, but you might only get one hit, and then it's like, oh, one hit's all I need.
Yep.
Yeah.
But gosh, I mean, like, I don't want to say that Vet Guard are a solved team, but I mean, they've been around for so long.
They have.
I feel like a lot of the tricks have been felt out. I agree with you
Mm-hmm.
on the utility of clear the line.
Mm-hmm.
At the SoCal Open, because I'm sure we're going to get to it, where I picked them back up, and as we were talking about,
Yeah, you played them 4 times. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So at SoCal, I was using that strat like almost every time.
Clear the line.
Clear the line. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's just like, it's handy in random places. It's like, oh, I need to do there's a guy over there on 4 wounds, and you just send the Harden in there and he's going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, at West Coast Champs, there was an Assault Intercessor on 3 wounds. And I just had 2 GA2 guardsmen, and I was like, all right, well, both of you are guaranteed to do 2 damage. Go get them. And
Mm-hmm.
like, just the guaranteed damage you get from that. Also the guaranteed parries. Like, if you're fighting a team, like, are you going to survive combat with an orc all the time? Like, usually you won't. But sometimes they get 2 hits.
True.
And then it's pretty nice to guarantee you're going to get a parry.
Yeah.
And things like that.
What's fascinating is that I see our differences in play is that I see you use reroll ones quite a lot more than I do, even on turn 1.
Yeah.
Like, what is your thoughts behind taking that over move turn 1?
I think it depends on what I think I'm going to be able to achieve.
Okay.
I love to leverage the spotter, especially on open boards.
Mhm.
And like, I usually have him in my last deployment group. I love attacking as Vet Guard. So I usually get to see where the opponent is. So usually I can like do my best to leverage a turn 1 spotter shot. And so if I'm in a situation where, I'm playing against Colt or some like Horde team where I think, I might be able to grenade launcher a group of people, I'll throw reroll ones in there. Cause if I'm going to blast 3 guys, that's 12 dice. I'm going to roll some ones, and I would like to have that that guarantee. Just like, the 1 inch of movement is nice, but you don't always need it. I usually pre-measure my deployments, and I see like, okay, can I move dash, or can I single move onto these objectives, get to where I want to be? Will this extra inch be redundant? Or is it like necessary to get a good position? So, in the cases where it's needed, I will take it. But I find a lot of the time, that 1 inch of movement, will only be useful on someone like the Demo Man. And if we're talking about my opponent maybe giving me a Demo Blast turn 1 versus, getting a little bit of extra efficiency on some shooting I'm lining up for turn 1, sometimes I'll take that. But I will say that I don't take aim turn 1 all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I do find value in move.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that, yeah, I think I default to take aim more often. And I don't know, I roll a decent amount of ones into hits with that one. It's worked out for me quite a bit in the past.
It's interesting. I usually take move because I prefer pressing early on objectives and
Sure.
being able to take like my expendable models, the expendables, get it? And possibly like taking a back objective that sometimes you can only do if you have that extra inch of move. Also, that extra inch of move is also great on like your leader for a charge or an unseen shot, and sometimes even the Melta or your sniper. Like I sometimes I'll play really aggressive with the sniper turn 3 and turn 4 because I'm like, all right, well, a lot of them are dead. I might as well start running around, and he's basically another plasma, right?
Yeah.
If you play him aggressive. Is there anything that you do like I know that you just talked about your strategy with your hardened veteran, and you were telling me you take him every time when I don't. Why don't you tell us like what you do with your hardened vet specifically?
Yeah, so I am in the habit of taking the hardened veteran. Sometimes, I think in SoCal, it was like every time. I took him instead of the confidant, which I know some people would call heresy.
I
But
think only on Into the Dark is it heresy, but yes, continue.
yeah, I think I took him on the Into the Dark boards, but on my open boards, I was leaving him at home, taking the hardened. I did take him every game, and I would give him a rosary, and I'd give him a crack grenade.
Makes him super tanky.
Super tanky.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys have on your YouTube channel, when I played against Jamie's Phobos, hardened veteran takes like 16 damage and survives.
Yeah, that's the best part. So anyone who plays Vet Guard, always, if you take the hardened veteran, I always suggest putting the rosary on him. I've never thought about putting the crack grenade on him, but I think I'm going to steal that because I never, ever get to throw my crack grenade or my frag grenade, because typically I'm using them on my little auxiliary dudes and I throw them up the table and they die anyway. So
exactly.
I waste it.
And that's the thing, because your troopers, they're your utility. They're your tools. They're not meant to be your weapon. They are doing mission actions for you. They are going into weird positions to get you center line or central control, and they're achieving all of that for you. And so, like, you can't. It feels natural to give them a crack grenade, but like, if you do, you might be giving up mission play.
Yeah,
the hardened veteran, his job is to kind of absorb shots, make people waste more activations than they think they have to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're leveraging that by having him move into a precarious position to throw a decent damage grenade, which I think is another thing, is I like the crack grenade, and I think it works amazingly with take aim.
Agreed.
So usually I put take aim on the turns where I want to throw that grenade.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes up, he throws that. He does a decent amount of damage usually, and usually one model's not enough to take him out.
Mm-hmm.
So I have not only either damaged or killed an enemy model, but not only does he then trade that model and an activation to get me back, he might have to burn 2 activations, in which case that model, by throwing a crack grenade and surviving 1 activation, has basically drawn 3 enemy models into that trade.
Heaven forbid you do it the final action of your turning point. They turn around and they kill the model, and then you use Only in Death, and you run and steal a point with them.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely glorious.
Only in Death is so good. I think that's another thing. I think you talk about this as well. It was a mistake I made early on in SoCal that I corrected very quickly. Do not use Only in Death on your gunners unless you absolutely have to. It is almost always better to use it to mess with people's objective play.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I've done that quite a few times. Specifically, I think the best play I ever did was against Dylan up in at BAO. It was a game that I think I took 5-1 primaries and 2 on turning point 1 and turning point 2, and I was able to, or it was at least 5-1 on turning point 1, but I was able to he was able to kill one of my models, and then I was able to Only in Death him, move on to a different, steal the point, move him over. And this is just like a normal dude. So I stole the point with 1 AP, moved to the other one with move. And then I used the other GA2 to steal the back one, and it was loot. So I was able to steal both his back ones. And it was just the things that you can do with Only in Death isn't just shooting, isn't just trading plasma or letting plasma shoot twice. There's some really interesting things that you can do. Another great thing that doesn't get talked about a lot is it's harder to set up, but if you do move, and you put your crack grenade and frag grenade on your actual little models, like your auxiliaries, they do have the opportunity to alpha strike in certain situations, right? So you can do your pregame dash, move 7 inches, all of a sudden you have a 16-inch threat range with 2 different grenades. So and you can do them at the same time. Both models are gonna die, but yeah, it can be really detrimental, especially if somebody like are really grouped up really hard. So to keep that in mind too.
Absolutely.
So go ahead, G.
You find the most success with Vet Guard, but I noticed this whole year you've been playing all sorts of teams. Were you just trying to like find your play style to fit this meta? What were you doing?
I like to generally try to find kind of like a counter meta pick. Comorites was a team that no one was really playing, and because Custodies were the big thing, and I saw like, oh, this is the team that deals with Custodies the best, and I started playing them, and they just turned out to be naturally good otherwise. But I was just kind of trying to find teams that people weren't really thinking about, and see if there was something behind them that maybe we've been overlooking. Most of the time, that did not work, but it was still worth the try.
Yeah.
Like you had an interesting choice. I'm just looking at the whole year of what you've been picking, and I remember playing against you with most of these teams. I'll give it to you. You've had a lot of interesting choices. What was your favorite and your least favorite?
I loved Hand of the Archon. I don't think that was really a counter meta pick per se, but that was a team that I got beaten by at Hammer of Wrath, and I was like, wow, this is really aggravating to fight against. I would love to do this to other people. And so I started playing them, and I took them to Nova, and I really liked them. Exaction Squad as well, even though they let me down. I think they're still one of the most fun teams to play. I really hope they get buffed, because if they do, who knows, I might play them. I love their board control style.
Well, you had one of the hottest takes on our hot take show.
That
runs every now and then. You called in and you said Exaction was S tier, similar to how people keep telling us Hyrotech is S tier. Let us remind you, they had a 20% win rate at the World Championships. Still in the book. Though we'll see after the balanced data slate, they very well could become S tier. They're a very good team in general.
They are about B tier right now, is what my updated ranking is. I did play them. And I tried to get back into them recently to try to like see if, I could fix my mistakes and try to run them better. And oh my God, the elite teams absolutely roll them. It is not funny.
What? You mean the team with a bunch of plasmas gets rolled by like Intercession?
What? Plasmas? Are we talking about Exaction still?
Oh, Exaction. Sorry. I was talking about Hearthkin Salvagers.
I did not catch on to that we were talking about Hearthkin.
You're fine.
I thought we were still talking about Hyrotech. Yeah, like I got really thrown off.
So anyway, back to Vanguard.
So we're going to talk about Exaction. We'll go to the other ones that you
let's
played
start with
this
Exaction.
year. Okay, we'll go to Exaction. Yeah. All right. So, you played Exaction at Hammer of Wrath, and your take was S tier. So we're correcting all of our wrongdoings, going back in time with the time stone from the MCU. So, so what was like the big take? You played me in that and you beat me. You did. How was Exaction Squad? And you said you rate them heavily in B tier.
Yeah. I think that, and like, Rob could, corroborate this. I forget his last name, but he was
Rob
playing,
McLeod.
He was playing the Hand of the Archon at the tournament.
He's amazing.
He's
guy.
the HOA.
Mm-hmm.
I was like my dice were pretty much failing me. I think I was also misusing them. The team still does hit on fours in a lot of situations.
You did not roll great that tournament.
I did not roll great that tournament. I was really trying not to tilt myself over that, but it was hard. But I mean, as a matter of fact,
if you had some squad games dice,
Available now.
I did buy a set of squad game dice at the All Valley Team Tournament, and I haven't been diced since. So
there we go.
that's all I can say. I also noticed that there are a couple extra 6s on those dice, but
Yeah. Your opponent won't.
Yeah, definitely not.
But yeah, just they have a bit of a dice dependency thing. And I think that can be overcome if you're really playing into their strengths. But if you're trying to get aggressive, it can be a struggle. I think into a lot of teams, taking all shields is a trap. I did not believe that at the time. I believe that a bit more so now. And also, like, elite teams, they just absolutely roll. Exaction Squad.
They do.
I've played some games into Phobos. I don't know how Exaction beats Phobos.
Gee, you played into Exaction, and
I didn't want to bring it up.
You said that they were. You said that they were. They did frustrate you as a Space Marine player,
but they didn't like. There wasn't a whole lot of stopping power. I think your crack grenade was the big stopping power,
which is not what you want to hear from from your team.
From your team. Like, that's the thing. But those shields and the phosphorlumens put you in such a difficult place as elite teams that rely on like rerolls and only so many guys, that a lot of the time you're not killing them and they're not killing you, but you're being delayed.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is just that like an assault intercessor might whiff against a shield guy, but it turns out a double firing bolter takes him down pretty good still.
It's true.
Yeah.
I remember in my game, you had like 2 shield guys in the center, and then I just charged like 6 vet guard into the middle of the table, which was a mistake, but it was still fun to see. I was like, kill these guys in 2 turns. I dare you. And you're like, I can't. And I was like, all right.
And to be fair, I think that in my when I went back to them, I think that I took the wrong composition into you as well. I think into like vet guard and pathfinders, you don't take the shields. Maybe your leader has one. I think you go full shotguns, and then you just pop Guilt reveals itself, and you just walk forward and delete every single model you look at.
I could see that.
Yeah, I think
that's more the play into Vet Guard. But if someone does take shields, you can kind of just hold them in a place, and they can't kill all of you. Sometimes they can't kill one guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good strategy.
So what was the highlights of the team, and then what do you think was the biggest drawback? Like, because I mean, you're extreme, so everyone knows like Kellen is a very competitive player, so a lot of these insights are going to be super helpful just in general. So like, what was your biggest takeaways from Exaction?
I'll talk about one matchup, and then I'll talk about some general stuff. I still believe that even in today's meta, they would take Colt's lunch money.
Oh yeah.
Just because, like,
another hot take, huh?
Torments rely on rerolls. Mutants rely on rerolls. You turn those off as Exaction Squad. You've got the shotguns to deal with their other stuff. Like, a Torment might just not hit you. With 5 attacks on 4s, if it gets 3 hits, which is, average for no rerolls, you hit first, you parry out 2 of them, that guy's now not killing you.
Mm-hmm. So I'll defend the Colts.
Sure.
I think that they still take the match just because, like, if you're taking a bunch of shields and phosphorlumens, they still have like way more models. And then on top of that, they can pretty reliably charge models and just free mutate because you're not going to kill all the things that you fight. And fair. Then it's like, even if you kill them, there's just going to be a slog match. But here's the thing, like, if they just tie up all your dudes, they can still run around with all their little normies and kill stuff or score points. So I think it's just like they just out activate, in my opinion. I think that's like, it's possible, but I just don't think they have enough killing.
Yeah. I would say that those are fair points. In a general sense for the team, I loved the board control aspect of them. I really appreciated this, especially when I started playing them again last month. And I think in general, just like, it really taught me how to play the board with any team, really. Because if you play Exaction Squad, you'll quickly learn that you do not win matches by charging and fighting. you win matches by charging, looting a point off of someone's feet, forcing them to fight into you, and then like leveraging these models in a way that you're not actually killing people, but you're making people very frustrated to proceed forward and do their plan. And not to mention that like the Proctor Exactins screamy speaker thing is really annoying, especially on stuff like loot. They're really good at denying enemy points, and I think that it kind of reinforced and taught me some movement shenanigans that have helped me even with other teams. Like even now as I'm playing novitiates and stuff, I've found myself charging and passing with a melee model just, to deny points or to achieve one thing or the other, where it might be more valuable than just straight up killing a model. And so I think that's a valuable skill in competitive play, because as much as it is kill team, there are times when killing the model is not the optimal play.
Correct.
And so I think that team just subconsciously ingrained that into my competitive behavior more. So I think that was valuable for playing the team. But I will say, as far as drawbacks go for them, they need a 12th fucking model.
So that's what you think they need to fix the team?
I don't know if it would fix it. I don't think, like, another thing you could do is maybe have their attack profile hit on 3s with the shields, so there's a reason to use it, because right now there's no reason to not go defensive.
Yeah.
Make them that would make them a bit more consistent. And like maybe like give them more access to rerolls from long range, so that there's some reason to take the gunners. Like the Weber's fine, but the grenade launcher is just not it. It's 4 shots, and it's a decent shot. It's 4.6 with AP1, but it hits on 4s. It doesn't synergize with any of your army rules because you can't shoot it into combat, and oftentimes you're just not getting natural rerolls, so you have to command point that thing. So some more synergy with your long range profiles, maybe. But ultimately, I think the thing that I've found is you can, like, this team can function, but I think it just needs one more idiot with a shotgun on the team, just to feel like, okay, I can now trade a bit more. Because, like, if you look at the Breacher matchup, like, actually, our BDs have, you can ask Jimmy Kelly about this, our BDs actually have a pretty good match in the Breachers. But if you compare the two, they're both 8-wound teams, because let's be real, you're taking the stims. They're 8-wound teams with a 4-up save. And a close-range profile. Our BDs are naturally better, but then Breachers have more specialists and more high-damage strats and things like that. But they get 12 models, and our BDs get 11. And I don't think it would really ground shake the game too much if you just had another idiot with a shotgun that you could run and blast someone with before they go down.
Something that I would like to see that might break the team entirely, but what I would like to see nonetheless to play into the cops theme more often. Well, firstly, if they could arrest 8-wound models, since everything keeps going up in wounds, that would be great, considering right now they can just like arrest Inquisition, Vet Guard, and Tau. Tau are deserved. Yeah, novitiates. But I think like a 12th model would be really nice, and also like giving GA2 to all of their normal shotguns dudes, because when you think about it, like they should be like, they're like teams, like that's what you see in all the cop, like bad boys, what you gonna do? Like they roll up in a squad car together, right? They roll up in a spaceship together. I think that they should have more GA2 activations, and I think that would make them be able to deal with mech teams a little bit better. If you were able to do 2 shotgun guys in an activation, you might be able to do something to a Space Marine rather than just dying.
And I think that's very true, because they do have a single instance of double activating right now, and it is quite good. I think it's the Leechmaster and the dog. Mm-hmm. I think people underestimate that guy.
Oh, I love that guy.
In several cases, I have had that combo like one shot a full health Space Marine.
Yeah, I love Scooby. He's a good model.
So yeah, having more of that just to like charge a shield in and then follow up with a shotgun. So now, like, they're down to like 6 wounds and they can't fight their way out of the shield. or just double shotgunning someone, like moving. You can think of different things that you could do with them. I think that would be. I don't know if that would break them. It'd be cool though.
I don't think it would.
It probably wouldn't, because if you gave them GA2 on like one more group of people, suddenly that team has like 9 or 10 activations instead of 10, 11. And
which is good and bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't like that idea. Like now you're just getting out activated by a lot of stuff, and also it's not
you just go on guard because they're police.
Sure.
Yeah. See.
What if you're on an open board, Dakotah?
Overwatch.
Make it their special rule.
Shotgun Overwatch.
Long range shotgun profile. Hits on 6s now.
Hey.
But like it's not just the teams that have more models than you out activating. Like I'm sure that, as a Vecgar player, I would still experience this against like intercession and stuff. Like sometimes you have several models that you don't want to move yet. And so like they might still have like 3, you might only be like 3 activations in and already be like, man, I already have to start making risky moves that I don't want to make because it might draw a shot.
I'm all about it.
And so if our BDs go down in activations, that just means that even more of their guys are going to have trouble setting things up because, they're just one step closer to an opponent being able to react to that activation, if that makes sense.
That's true. We'll move on to the next team. So we'll kind of go in order. The next team that you really played was Comorites. We'll skip them though because they're competitive.
They're not good.
They're not good. We'll move on to Hyrotech because that was your next team. You're really up on these guys as well.
Yeah.
So
what made you like think like this is the team to take?
They were scary though. When I played you with them, I was so terrified of you like jumping to my backline as Vetguard and killing like 10 of my models. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna spread out and see what happens.
Well, if I recall, I think you won that game.
I did because you didn't want to go into the center of the board where the mine layer was, which was the point.
It's understandable. Yeah,
it was the point.
They were a lot of fun, and I think I wanted to look into them. One, because I'm a Necron fan. I have a Necron army in various stages of paint and falling apart and having been stepped on by my dog and stuff.
Oh, no.
It's a very abused collection right now.
Okay, they grow back to life, right?
Yeah, they do. I'm waiting for the reanimation protocols to kick in. Some of them are taking a minute. But I just like Necrons. I love their feel. I don't think that Hyrotech is my Necrons.
They don't feel like Necrons to me.
They don't. But I was still eager to try them, and I loved the Cryptech idea of the Cryptech actions and stuff. I thought that was cool. Again, I don't know if it's the most Necron-y thing. I'm more Immortals and Lichguard kind of guy. But it was still cool. And I thought that there was some decent play, and I still think that Necrons have a good match into Cultists, which especially back then, that was kind of the big boogeyman was Cult. And just with the Cryptech Alpha Strike and everything, like I thought there was some really cool play until you realize that they have they have one 10 out of 10 model, they've got like 2 8 out of 10 models, and then everyone else is just kind of around. And that was kind of the big thing, is they are very tall, and I think they are a bit too tall, if that makes sense.
I remember because when I was playing against you at, I think it was at Ease.
Yeah.
And you did the Alpha Strike thing. Like I positioned myself a little poorly on my mistake. I survived it, but you got me, and I was like, that's the strength of that weapon. I get it now. So I knew immediately I had to kill that thing.
That was the Psychomancer. So that was a bunch of shots on. It was 2-2, but it was AP2 with splash.
Yeah, it was insane. But the thing I noticed was when I killed the Psychomancer, you have nothing. Like I had that board. Yeah,
and then he didn't reanimate.
Yeah, for 2 turns. He came back, and then I killed him before he got activate. So the RNG on the team makes it kind of tough. Yeah,
you can't they need to have a thing that says you can use command point reroll on the reanimation roll
or something.
Because there are too many times where that team just shuts down
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm not a big fan of the. I mean, the HQ is the best thing about that team, right? But like the lore, the aesthetic, whatever they did with that team, I'm not a fan of. I like the Immortals. I've always said that if they ever brought out Scorpec destroyers into Kill Team, I would convert because that's my favorite Necron model.
Yep.
But like, I don't know. Like they tried to make Necrons into this like really weird trickery, like elven. Maybe they went with like the we're old evil, so we do weird stuff. But they're way too complicated for their own good. You know, that's why they got buffed like 4 or 5 times, 5 times in a row, 4 times in a row,
something like that. When I first saw Hyrotech being played, I was baffled at the number of tokens they had to put on the board. They have so many tokens they play with.
Yeah. And if anything, there's like they're okay, but they're still not to the level of, you know, any of the S tier teams. Maybe if they bring all the S tier teams down, maybe we'll see like a different meta kind of emerge. Like we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah.
So what was like your biggest takeaway with Hyrotech? And is there anything that you'd want to tell people that are thinking about playing that team or playing that team, maybe coming to LVO?
You cannot be a salty bitch if you're going to play Hyrotech. Because they will fail you in one of your games. Do not take Hyrotech if you expect to win, because there will come a time when your stuff will not reanimate and you'll just lose a flank when you're not supposed to. You have to play them as if they don't have reanimation protocols, at which point you have an 8 model team and 2 of them are like support staff.
At which point, why would you bring them? But sorry.
Exactly. So like you can't be salty. Go to have a good time. Go to enjoy the lore. But otherwise, I mean, you got to play that. You got to unlock the crypt tech. That is the sauce. If you're planning on taking them, pick them up now and start getting games in and really get down how to leverage that crypt tech into the best it can be. And also never take anything but the Chronomancer. I tried the Psychomancer. He's fine, but the Chronomancer is better.
Fair. That is fair.
And the Technomancer is garbage.
Do you get the Technomancer in the box?
No. I don't think so.
You get like, there's like 2 models you don't get in the box. It's an expensive team. What's fascinating is I think that like Hyrotech are actually okay into cults. Like, yes. Much like they were okay into, commandos were okay into commandos as well. Or no, commandos were okay into cults as well. Or good, supposedly, and then lost every game. So not by a lot, but they did lose.
I mean, that's ultimately like the problem with that phrase. Like they're good into cultists. That's good, but they're not good into everything. And you're not just playing cultists at top tables. You most likely are, but there's going to be those other ones, or maybe even the lower tables before you get to top. Mm-hmm. And then you might not ever make it to top because that happened, you know?
Yeah. See, like I felt a lot of pressure as a Vet Guard player against Hyrotech. Like I felt like I could have lost the game at any moment. Right. But like against like a mech team, I've seen people play it like TOing and stuff, like against like a 6-man 3-up save army. Like it can really not go well. Of course, if you play right or the trains right, you know, you can. It's just it's going to be a team that requires a lot of skill to pilot for sure to be successful. So moving on to your next team that you picked up throughout the year, you took it to Nova, and that was Hand of the Archon.
Yeah, the HOA.
Yeah, the HOA here to inspect your homes to make sure they're okay. What did you guys? So I know that you said you played them at Hammer of Wrath, and you were very impressed by them. And they're like they're Comorites 2.0, right? And Corsairs better half.
Yeah.
What really like sparked your interest about the team outside of just like the lore and, bringing you back to your roots?
Mechanically, I thought pain tokens were something that you could do a lot with. I mean, granted, it's limited what you can do with them on paper. It's like reroll +1 APL, dash after killing something. But the shenanigans you can get up to with those were really interesting to me.
Why don't you explain what they do exactly for everyone listening?
So every time a model kills an enemy, depending on how many wounds they have, you get a certain number of pain tokens.
Mm-hmm.
Then later on, you can spend these pain tokens to do certain things. If you do it at the start, you can pay a pain token to get an extra APL. That's your version of a comms because your team doesn't actually have one. You can just use it as like a faith point or a command point reroll at some point in the game. Or you can spend it after you've killed an enemy to dash away even if you've charged. No, you can do this even if you just earned that pain token. So a lot of the time, what you could do is like charge in, kill something, spend the pain token, dash away. And things like that. And just, it's an open toolbox where if you can get the team rolling, suddenly they are doing all kinds of shenanigans to your opponent. Suddenly your gunner has an extra APL that they weren't accounting for. Suddenly, a guy who has missed all of his shots is now re-rolling and becoming a lot more efficient than he was supposed to be at no cost to your command points. I already talked about dashing after killing something and how strong that is. And so that was really interesting to me. Because, it was not automatic. You had to earn that because you had to play well and get kills without the model dying in return. But then also the team is weirdly durable as well. The 6-up Feel No Pain comes into play a lot more than you think. The amount of 4 damage weapons that suddenly just might not kill a guy is pretty insane. And then, of course, the Pain Grenade. The Disciple of Yelindra is hilarious. And that was the thing that, when I was playing Exaction Squad into them, it blew up 3 shield guys, and they were useless for the rest of the game. And that's when I was like, oh, I would love to do this to other people just so it can never happen to me.
What is that pain? What does that grenade do for people not familiar with it?
So you throw it, it goes through walls. You don't need line of sight. And it's just
amazing.
It's so,
break more
it's
rules.
such a broken thing, but I love it.
Good. So what it does is basically it's a 2-inch burst where on a 3-up, +1 to the roll if they if you can see the enemy, -1 if they have a 3-up save or better. They are injured for the rest of the game, I believe, regardless of any rules. I believe. I forget which way that goes. And they take 2 mortal wounds at the start of every turn.
Yeah.
The main thing is the injury. Because suddenly, stuff is moving slower, stuff is hitting worse. When I played against Leander at Nova against his commandos, it was Leander playing commandos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe.
It was I got the thing off on, I think I got the grenade off on his bomb squig, and it charged in, and he decided to try to fight with it to try to get me to kill it in combat and have it explode, and it was hitting on 5s all of a sudden, and it just missed. Same thing with his commando knob. I was able to get it on his knob, and that slowed the guy down enough. It made him hit worse, and he did whiff in combat against one of my models. And so it just means that it completely disrupts your team, and because you can hit them anywhere, because the team also has the ability to dash for free, they just can't come into the middle of the board until she's moved. And the fact that against a lot of teams it goes off on a 3, even if you can't see them, it is annoying to play against.
And also they receive 2 mortal wounds every round at the beginning of every round. It's crazy. So those are all the things that you really liked about it. Now I'm pretty sure I know the reason why you stopped playing them.
I think I've told you.
Yeah. So why don't you tell everyone? So there's a specific reason, like this team is awesome. This team is great. But now why don't you tell us?
They are absolute poopy dog water into commandos. They are terrible into commandos.
Mm-hmm.
I have won one game against them. And I genuinely believe it was because Leander had not played against Hand of the Archon before. I think that if we played that matchup again, he would absolutely wipe my face on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't begin to get into the anatomy of why that matchup is so bad. But just a combination of them being great in melee, having good shooting, having more models than you, having more wounds than you, having just a scratch. I'm sure there's some other stuff I'm forgetting about.
Out-activating you. Yep.
Having
more wounds than you.
Yeah, it just makes exactly.
I could go on.
it just makes the matchup so hard. And James was playing commandos, and he went up against someone else who was playing Hand of the Archon, and he was saying like, I've played this matchup before, and there's like nothing you can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
So with commandos being so prevalent at the time, it was like, I love this team. I feel very sharp with them. I feel like I play very good games with them, and they're very powerful. But as long as people are still taking commandos in the volume they are, I cannot compete with them.
Yeah, commandos right now are, I think, the most popular team. Them and Intercession still. So
yeah.
Now they roll Intercession, which is funny, but
mm-hmm.
yeah, commandos are rough.
That is fair. So, is there any kind of like high level tactics? Well, there's one thing that I would love to see them Games Workshop, because the balanced data slate should be coming out, I believe, this week or next week. So like it might be out by the time we record this airs. But like, do you remember the question that you had to ask Matt? Because I ruled it a little differently.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
That is the Cabalite banner.
Mm-hmm.
I will pull it up if you give me 2 seconds.
Sure. And because this was ruled a specific way at Nova, I don't think we've asked. It hasn't been ruled on an official GW event that I know of. I've had to rule on it. It's a weird question that I hope gets errated. If anyone from Games Workshop is listening, that would be nice.
Are we about to get in? Because if we're going to be getting into this, just know that I am prepared to die on the hill for this thing.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
But
okay.
It's Cabalite banner. While a friendly, it's 2 equipment points. You can only take 1, but it goes on anyone. I take it on the Flayer, the person who has -1 damage in the good melee. While a friendly Hand of the Archon operative is visible to and within 3 inches of this operative, when determining control of an objective marker, treat that friendly operative's APL characteristic as being 1 higher. Nope, this is not a modifier. The ruling here comes in, and the way it ruled at Nova was that does in fact apply to every friendly visible operative within 3.
Of every objective, right? On any objective, if he's within.
It doesn't matter like where the objective is. All it is like if you are friendly and visible within 3 of that guy, any objective you happen to be standing on, your model counts as 1 APL higher. Meaning that 2 models standing on 1 objective suddenly are 6 APL.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So how that ruling is contested.
Yeah. So how other people have seen it is that it's just 1 model, and how I say it is that it's any model, but for N specific objective, because it says "an," it specifies. But like, who knows? Like, I'm not an English major, just kind of like. It would be nice to get clarification on a couple rules, but that would be one of them. Is there any kind of high level tips that you would give out to any players looking to, say, play this team more competitively?
I don't think I see enough people taking the Cabalite banner. I think it is taken. Granted, I think it's a lot better if it's ruled in the way it was ruled at Nova.
I'm on your side with this banner. I'm reading it, and an objective marker isn't specifically one objective marker of a choice. Yeah. It's as many that you're within.
And then it's like, if it is one objective marker, when do you choose which one it is? Could you flip flop back and forth at any point? Like that's kind of where the confusion comes in.
I would have to say it can work for all of them.
But if that is the case, take that on your flare and just basically in most of your matches, just because it just opens up objective play for you. Suddenly, like, even if you're going up against APL 3 teams, like, oh, well, now I can't like steal an objective from a Space Marine. Yes, but you stop them from stealing it from you. And things like that. And I think that people do recognize the power of it. I think people do take it. I think people take it less than they should. Otherwise, I'm really getting quizzed on teams I haven't played in a couple months. Right. Let me think about it for a second. I think everyone knows that you pay the soul debt pretty much every single time. But I have found that you don't take it into like 10 model teams because there's not enough. And generally they'll prevent your kills. Okay. So you want to make sure that you're going to be able to generate enough pain tokens to make that worth your while. They can do just fine with Seek and Destroy in certain matchups without that. Don't take the other ones.
So pay the souls is if the soul tally debt is 7 or more, you score 1, and if it's 9 or more, you score another 1.
Yeah, so. And generally that is like a certain number of kills minus 1, because generally your flare will give you at least 1 pain token throughout the game. But you have to have the confidence that you're going to get those kills. I'm trying to think, like, I think that people, the people that have played these guys a lot, I think generally know how to play them. I think it really just comes down to player skill in general, like knowing
you would think that this team is more of a high skill cap team, so you want to be at least decent at the game before you like see a lot of success with them.
I think you could do fine. I think you could do well with them as a new player just because they do have raw damage. But I think that a lot of the skill to this team comes from knowing how movement works, knowing how to leverage APL, knowing when to attack, knowing how to get non-reciprocal shooting, and things like that, which is not necessarily Hand of the Archon specific. But, I think that if you practice them, and you have those skills, then you will do well with them. One thing I will actually say, now that I think about it, is stop taking the Shredder.
Okay.
Please.
Why is that?
The blaster is generally better.
Yeah, it's like a plasma overcharge.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like, yes, into like Colts, take the Shredder. Vet Guard, yeah, take the Shredder. Pathfinders, I don't know where you're seeing Pathfinders, but sure, maybe. I would almost argue not.
Voting for -2 more operatives against Pathfinders. That's what I'm rooting for.
Yeah, instead of nerfing the pain grenade, let's do that.
Yep. Instead of nerfing Colts, let's do that too.
Exactly. But especially on Into the Dark, like there are horde teams where it's worth it. But I've seen people, and when I say I've seen people, I mean I've done this, taking it into like commandos, or 10 model teams like novitiates and stuff, or Hearthkin. Oh boy, was it a mistake to take it against Hearthkin? But like especially on Into the Dark, it's like, oh, lethal 5-up on this big scary rending weapon. Like that seems really good.
It also seems bad against novitiate, not breachers, because of their void armor.
Yeah.
The thing is that because it's a blast weapon, there are 2 key things that you can't do. You cannot overwatch, and you cannot point blank shoot unless there's like a really weird positioning discrepancy you can take advantage of. But if someone's just hiding behind a barricade and all you can do is get within 2 inches of them, it's almost never worth blowing yourself up to get the kill. If you're taking the blaster, you are generally guaranteeing that whatever you shoot at will be turned into ash. And then additionally, you have the opportunity to overwatch. You have the opportunity to run up within 2 inches of someone and blow them away. I think that in a lot of cases, the precision of that is better than the chance that you get a blast on someone. Because let's also be real, especially when you get to higher level play, people are not going to be giving you blast as much, especially if they're spreading out to avoid the pain grenade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something we all would need to do. Spread out a little bit more.
Also, I would just like to say, I played against Nick Craven's Blooded at Nova.
He's a badass.
Yeah, he's really good.
He's a burger-eating badass.
I did end up losing that game, but I took the blaster into him instead of the shredder, even though he was playing Blooded. And we one-shot his Ogren. Like,
nice.
Damn.
Let's go.
That kind of speaks for itself. Like, that was a big piece of his team that was removed on like turn 2.
Mm-hmm.
The shredder might not have been able to pull that off.
Against him, the Ogren charged all 4 of my gunners.
Oof.
Yeah. Turning point 3 or 4. It was bad.
I'm assuming that you didn't get much done after that.
Nope. Did not.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Man, I wish I could have killed him with the plasma, but he got initiative, and it is what it is.
Turns out hitting on 3s without hot is a lot better than 4s with hot.
Agreed. So, moving on to the final team. Well, not the final team. We'll swing back to Vetguard because that's what you ended this season so far with. Because I think you're still going to 2 more tournaments after this. You've competed in 9 tournaments this season, but not and 10 tournaments this year because LVO was last season.
Yeah.
So, you took Hearthkin to the All Valley. Now, was it a team strategy to bring Hearthkin? Did you think was it your new hot take that they were S tier like Exaction Squad? or what was your reasoning for bringing them there? Was it because they're more of a SKU list? Like, what were you thinking? And what happened?
We started theory crafting this after Nova.
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple things, and again, like I'm kind of jogging. I've been thinking about novitiates and Vetguard and Arbites so much in the past few months. Like I completely forgot that I played Hearthkin.
Well, you did some amazing things, which we'll talk about.
Oh yeah, no, I think I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But they felt really good. They had a lot of tricks. The scoring on them was really nice. I should say again, I was also looking at this team because people started beating me with them, and I was like, "What the hell are plasma knives? How are these so good?" But
they're dwarven made. That's how they're good.
Oh yeah, but I just remember we were playing practice games with them, and every time I played a game, like I played against Joshua Kelly's Gellerpox, and there was just random stuff I would do, like throw down like a heavy barricade between 2 pieces of terrain, and like I basically made like a gatehouse in my deployment zone that he couldn't get through, and then I was just shooting over it and shooting past it, or like turning that barricade that you just placed outside of 3 of your drop zone, making it heavy and then taking C's ground on it, even though it's behind a wall. Like they've got some really funny stuff. And then also on Dakotah's squad games terrain, the rotary cannon that ignores obscuring is so freaking good, dude. So like we just kind of started finding all these different little weird strengths. And then we realized that they might have a match into commandos. They didn't. That is more commandos' fault. Because here's the thing, though. Votan have this guy called the Locator.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know what he does?
Oh, I know exactly what he does.
Yeah,
he does not pick up things within 2 inches. Only 1. Sorry, continue.
Oh,
He can pick up items within 1 inch, or he can do mission actions for free.
sometimes he gets an 8-inch move.
That would be false. Only that's when they become S tier. They go Super Saiyan. They get a 6-inch move.
Yeah. So the locator, he has an ability where your opponent has to start in his deployment zone.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning commandos cannot sneaky get against you.
Yeah, you shut down a lot of teams.
Yeah. You can't pregame move. You can pregame move, but you can't like recon dash, I believe. But like Vetguard's pregame move, I believe, does still work. Or no.
I think you can do the dash, but you can't do the pregame moves, right?
Oh boy, it's been a minute since I played this game. I've got Wahapedia up right now.
There you go.
We're professionals.
I have one.
What it doesn't stop is it doesn't stop like teleporty things like the Death Mark or Wormblade.
Yeah,
I believe it does stop Vetguard's pregame dash and stuff like that. Yeah, so that really shuts things down. Then you realize that plasma axes are 5/5 damage, and then you realize that with grudge tokens, a lot of the guns that they have just kind of kill orcs really easily. And so we started thinking, well, maybe this is our counter orc team. I don't believe I ever actually fought orcs at All Valley, because I think we found out it was not the best matchup, but we ended up taking them. And they did okay. I think I went 3-3 with them.
2 of your wins were into cults, correct?
Yeah.
They were indeed.
And they were on Into the Dark, which is cults'
One of them.
strongest.
Place.
One of them.
Yeah,
So-
one of them was on Into the Dark.
So that is fascinating in itself. What made them so good into cults that you could win 100% of the games that you played against them?
I have no freaking clue. So, I mean, like, the first game that I played against cults was on open. So I threw the grenadier in the trash, and I gave a concussion grenade to the jetpack. And then I boosted him forward and got like 4 kills with the concussion grenade before he could react. Because also the locator was there, so he couldn't use his covert guys to get away.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we just started lighting up cultists. It was just like, we would find a vantage point here and get a guy. We would find a vantage point there and get a guy. We'd ignore obscuring and get some people. He would run up and fight, a mutant, and maybe he missed some of his dice, and my leader plasma sorted him to death. And just random things like that. We basically just created like a line on our deployment zone on our objectives. Because the map we were on had this big kind of open courtyard. And basically any cultist that came near that courtyard ended up getting blown up or killed. And then on the Into the Dark matchup, again, it was just our ability to create a kill zone. And I think that was one of the things, it's very thematic for dwarves, but it's one of the things that's very interesting about them is they have a very good ability to just create like fortresses on their half of the board.
Okay.
It makes them fun to play, yeah.
It does. Like with the fortify stratagem and things like that. But I recall, my opponent's big plan had to be to take my center objective. Because I believe we were playing loot, and he had to deny my primary points. Problem was, I was able to have basically all my gunners looking into that objective room. And then I won an initiative. I was able to get the grenadier in there, throw a slowdown grenade, so he couldn't get in there turn 1. Then turn 2, he had grouped up, and he had grouped some people up and mutated them. Grenadier comes around the corner and blows them up. We also got an early shot against a pair of devotees with a missile launcher, and we killed both of them. That was on turn 1.
Was it specifically the fact that you think that Hearthkin are good into cults, or do you think it was you played well and they played not as well?
I don't think my opponent played poorly.
Okay.
I think that he played them well. I think that the board was helpful.
Okay.
Because instead of having to go round corners to go take objectives, we could kind of just sit and watch our home objective and kill enemy models as they came through that way.
Okay.
And that kind of was part of it as well, because once the grenade went off and once he like charged in and we were like taxing him with damage with plasma knives and his torments were getting killed, he needed to keep activating to not let that get too out of hand, meaning that he wasn't activating on the flanks. And so then suddenly, like, I've got a lugger on the other side of the board who's just walking up slowly, ends up shooting down both of his Dark Commune sword guys before they're really able to do anything. And it wasn't a mistake to not activate those guys first, but just because the middle was going so poorly, he couldn't really try to do something about the flanks at that point.
Interesting. Okay.
And like, I feel like I'm not doing a very adequate job explaining how this match went, but genuinely it was just because like it was weird. It was just like I was just playing. We were just playing the game, and I would just get some kills here and there, and then suddenly it's like, oh, you're down 10 models. And I'm not trying to sound like arrogant or say that it was effortless, because it absolutely wasn't. It was not at all. But it's just hard for me to explain.
Fair.
And that's kind of my experience when playing against cultists, is that like, if you just kind of play for a kill here, a kill there, and you're mindful of like where the mutants are and stuff, you can find them start to sweat, if they're like down 5 devotees after a little bit. You'll probably still lose because they're cultists, but
yeah, currently we can all pray to the Emperor for some kind of nerf.
Yeah,
so,
but it's hard for me to say.
Okay.
Because I don't know, I'd have to play the matchup a few more times to really pin down what the case was. But I know that I played against a very good cult player who was playing them very well in their natural environment, and like the score was not. I think I won by about 8 points. So like, I'm not entirely sure like how that happened. I'd have to look into that more.
Some might say it was the luck of the Emperor. Some might say he guided your dice. Who knows?
Well, I was more of a Votan apologist at that point.
Okay. All right.
The Ancestor Cores.
Oh, yeah. So, moving on to the next part. Before we move on to LVO and what you think you might take there, if it was tomorrow, and we don't know what the balanced data slate is going to happen, so we obviously don't know, so we can only speculate. But you played Exaction, you played Comorites, you played Higher Tech, and you played Vet Guard, and you played Hand, and you played Hearthkit. So you played quite a few teams. You played Vet Guard 4 out of the 9 games this year, or 9 tournaments. Let's do a Kellen tier list of your own teams that you think where they're in the meta currently, right? So let's start out with Comorites. If they were in an S through F tier.
And are we talking in relation to the entire meta, or like compared to all the teams I've played?
No, compared to the entire meta, where you think they currently sit.
I think they're D tier.
D tier. Cool.
I think that
D.
Yeah,
Okay.
like they could be F tier, but like I still think Comorites are better than the rest of the compendium.
Okay.
So,
how about Exaction? Still solid B?
Yeah, I still think that they're B tier. They got some really cool tricks. I do love playing them. They're a playstyle that I enjoy, but they need an extra model or something. There are just some matchups they can't win. So low B, high C, I'd say. Probably low B.
Okay. How about Hyrotech Circle?
Oh, that's a tough one. So this was a team that I didn't play too many times. I took it to like one tournament with like.
You play a lot of
practice.
TTS. Come on.
I play a lot of TTS, but I didn't play a lot of Hyrotech TTS.
Fair.
Because like right now I'm thinking like C tier.
C? Right.
Just because one, I don't like how they're built. I don't like how tall they are. If we're talking about tall and wide teams.
Pain in the ass to model, to say the least.
Yes, that is one thing. Like, I keep kicking myself over picking Necrons as my favorite army, because I hate building them and they always break.
Yeah, they're the skinny little skeleton bastards.
Yeah. But the reason I'd say they're C tier, like, yes, they're strong. Yes, they do good damage. If you know how to play the crypt tech, they are going to be amazing. But there will always be a game where you just don't reanimate.
Okay.
And that is going to end your run. And so I'm imagining that with this tier list that I'm doing with you guys is in the context of like you're trying to do a long run at a tournament going deep. And I don't think Hyrotech can go deep.
Fair. What about Hand of the Archon?
A tier. The only thing that's keeping him out of S is their commando matchup.
Okay, I like that.
Okay. And how about Hearthkin Salvagers?
S tier.
Giacomo.
Every time
He's trying to get out. Giacomo was trying to get out of the book right now.
every time a new team is going to come out that people don't think is good, if I start playing it, everyone's going to just start saying like, "Oh, these guys are S tier, right?" I'm never going to be able to live down the Exaction Squad. Going in there with all the confidence in the world, and then going, what was it, like 2 and 4?
Hey, you know what? That's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's good to have the hot takes. It makes so that we can talk about it. You know,
Yeah.
Makes our
not
takes
enough
louder.
people are brave enough to have hot takes.
Hearthkin, I'd say, are probably B tier.
Okay.
I found that like it seems like they might have some really good tech into melee hordes. That's yet to be investigated further. But I also played 2 games into Legionary that time, and I lost both of those. So it seems like they have a struggle into that team, which is not what I was expecting.
Vedguard also have a problem in the Legionary, I find.
They do.
How about Vetguard? We come all full circle.
Vetguard are S tier. Vetguard are the best team, one of the best teams that I've played. They have given me some of the best runs. They did not get me a golden ticket, but they came very close to. And if I wasn't playing as a dingus at SoCal, who knows what would have happened in that last game.
Hey,
Jason was very good. It was a very good game, and he absolutely capitalized on the mistakes I made.
I think we tried to get a ticket for the West Coast champs, but left unread. As per usual. I feel like I'm on Tinder and I just get left unread all the time. The Games Workshop.
I've deleted all those apps.
Yeah, it's like I've never downloaded it because I'm married. I just assumed that's what it would be like. So finally, let's say LVO is tomorrow. Yeah. What team are you playing?
Well, hang on. We missed one team on the tier list.
Did we?
Yes, we did. And it's my choice to go to LVO right now.
Oh, well, I figured. But you didn't play it this year yet. So
fine.
So where are you putting Novitiates, huh?
Novitiates are also S tier.
Okay.
I think they're below Vetguard until I further test them, but they're saucy from what I've been playing, and I really like them, and I think they are currently what I'm looking at taking. And I'm annoyed because I started looking at this team, and Jimmy Kelly can attest to this, that I started playtesting them, and then I text Dakotah like, "Hey, I think Novitiates might be really good," and he's like, "Oh yeah, we're going to come out with a podcast tonight about talking about how good they are," and now everyone's talking about them again. It's like, no.
It's funny. I think that it's their time. They've taken quite a long backseat. The last time that we really saw them in the U.S. performing super well was in the hands of Chris Baki. Yeah. And he won a couple majors with them, and then he retired them. Right. So, and put them on his shelf of glory or whatever it's called, his emperor's shelf of awesomeness. What's making you want to bring them and come all the way full circle? Quite literally.
The faith.
Faith, yeah.
Faith in the Emperor has returned.
Yeah.
You know what it is? Remember how much we pray to the Emperor together? Like we'll sit down before games, we'll take a knee.
Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The sister's
Yeah.
coming out in you.
Ah, man, you're right. I still really like their play style. I think one of the things that kind of began to underestimate was their damage. Because one of the complaints I had was, again, I've been talking about tall and wide teams today, and they are a tall team. They've got the Superior and they've got the Flamers, and in the Penitent, if you lose those 4, you're greatly cut on the damage you can do. Especially if you're taking the support staff and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But just kind of, quickly to talk about them, I played against them a little bit and was surprised at the damage they could do. And then I started talking to some other novitiate players and talking about, because, one of their greatest weaknesses is melee teams, because their faith points don't really protect them there. And they kind of talked to me, and we figured out that taking sword militants can kind of help you build wider, can help you fill those gaps where the damage is being lackluster. And then on top of that, you never get diced as them, unless you're me 2 LVOs ago against Matt Hull, in which case not even faith points could have saved me there. But for the most part, you don't really get diced. And then just on top of that, their style of being generally an aggressive, close range shooting to melee team, with all the tricks they get from faith points, is really appealing. And I think that it is indeed quite strong. And it seems like the rest of the internet has caught on to that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still quite speculative on the team. I know that Alexa was pretty hot on them. You're pretty hot on them. I think that you guys have both turned my eye to be like more inquisitive about the team. But I think until I see like the data slate, I still think like Inquisition and some other teams that might give them, like Hunter Clade might make a comeback if people are going to start bringing earlier in the podcast, I had no idea that Hunter Clade were good into them, but Hunter Clade has also fallen off pretty hard.
Yeah. And I would love to get another Hunter Clade matchup in, because I feel like even just in the time I've taken away from them, I think I have a bit of a new philosophy with the team. Not to mention they have new resources for being in crit ops and just having extra command points. I would love to see how that matchup looks now.
You should hit up Blaine from Six-Sided Legion or Alex Squires to see if either one of them they're both fantastic Hunter Clade players.
I'm hoping to see Alex, I guess, and Blaine in San Diego for the little thingy that we're working on.
Oh, yeah?
And on also, Travis Chang's also a pretty good one as well, at least US based. If I missed you out there, I'm sorry. But I mean, I'm pretty excited to see where they come out, and if you stick with that team, depending on what happens with the data slate. But before we wrap up here, is there anything that you wanna do any kind of big shout outs for?
Huge shout outs.
I mean, go to LVO. I know this is more doing your job for you. Kel Team doesn't really have too much that we need to shout out. We don't really have a YouTube channel or a social media presence.
How about your debates? Are those televised at all?
Yeah,
or
that's what I'm talking about. Where can we stream your debates?
Unfortunately, I think most of those are just done behind closed doors. Sometimes the finals are not televised, but are recorded
by ESPN.
I wish,
like Jalal's Marble Runs.
Exactly.
But I think, if you want to root for me, then do that. I don't know.
I'll pray to the Emperor for you.
Thank you. And then I guess otherwise, the purple shirts, we are, I guess we're more the purple suits now. We're trying to go to a lot more tournaments, and we love hanging out with people. We love seeing people. So if you ever want to hang out with Kel Team or talk to us in between matches or get dinner with us afterwards, we are very open to meeting people and making this hobby as tight of a circle as it can be. But I mean, I guess other than that, I don't know if you're going to keep this part in, but I really wish Rockets got back to me so I could shout out that tournament.
I know, right? It's their loss. So
probably not. We won't talk about that until we have that official, I guess.
So right now, we are discussing running a tournament on January 6th down in as an LVO prep down in San Diego. So there's a couple stores we're looking at down there, and we're going to try to make that happen.
By the time this comes out, there should be details.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Which we'll have in the description if we have anything.
Mm-hmm. Gee, is there anything you want to shout out?
Of course. You can find me on Instagram at wargaming_studios. Again, that's wargaming_studios. I'm currently finishing the rest of my Casterkin. My goal is to get them done by the 9th. At least 10 playable by the 9th. It's at the time of this recording, it's the 1st. I got 8 days.
You do got 8. And you got 5 models?
I have 5 models so far. So I'm halfway there. Yes, I'm doing that. And then you can find me on the Squad Games Discord. You know, we're all there. You can join the conversation about this episode, about other episodes, about stuff in general, gaming, of course. And I want to shout out our patrons. I want to say thank you to them. You know, they support us in a more personal way, and we really appreciate it. And if you're thinking of becoming a patron, that's wonderful. If not, just listening to the episodes is perfectly fine, and that helps us out just as well. And last thing I have to say, because I've mentioned this in pretty much every episode, we are affiliated with Frontline Gaming. So if you're looking to get those tickets for LVO, for all the Kill Team events, we will have a link in the description. And any purchase you make there through our link is a kickback to us. And we really appreciate that. How about you, Dakotah?
I would love to shout out our patrons. If everyone who listened to our podcast gave us our lowest tier, it would be it would really help us out and make it so that we could do this even more full time. Everyone who already supports us, just thank you so much for making it, you know, this a viable thing for us. You know, you guys pay for our service that we use currently to record these. So again, thank you guys so much. Also, I'd like to shout out all of Dylan Eves. He did the art for LVO. And he does. He works in a tattoo shop here in LA called Charnel House Tattoo. He's an amazing artist, an amazing guy, and we wouldn't have been able to do any of the apparel that we're doing right now for LVO. You know, to help support the staff. You know, make it so that doesn't come out of our pockets. So appreciate everyone who's listening, and thanks again. You know, everything.
Yeah, and don't forget the shirts are in the. We'll have links in the description for the merch, the shirts for LVO. So if you're going to do a pre-order, feel free to do so down there.
Absolutely. Until next time.
Stay rock and roll. Nah, let's say hip hop.
I'm lost. I will stay jiggy with it. Call me back. Call me maybe. There we go. There we go.
My music taste is stuck in the early 2000s. I can't contribute here.
Cut my life into pieces.
I'm blue. Dabba dee dabba die.
The Squad Games podcast is a production of Squad Games Entertainment. For more information on Squad Games, please visit our website at lestersworkshop.com/squad-games.